Hello, everybody. My name's Joel Filderman, and welcome to the Dog Trainers Connection. I'm not a dog trainer, but this other person you see here is. She is Joyce Keaton, and her training business is the Yes Dog Academy. She is out of Loganville, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta. But what I wanted to talk to Joyce about today was about her other business, which she has a dog boarding business called the Dog Spot. And we were talking about that before we came on air. And we were talking about how things have changed with daycare. And you were talking something about socialization. And why don't you start there, Joyce?
Okay. These play care facilities, daycare, play care, whatever you want to call them, were originally opened on the premise that dogs needed to play in group play. That was basically the idea. Don't leave them home all day. They're bored. They're not going to get enough exercise. Take them to these places, and they'll put them into these groups, and they'll play, and they'll have a great time. And it was a nice idea, and it is a nice idea. I opened one. I've had 3. So they are fun. But what I've personally learned, and what now I'm seeing other places have learned as well, is that was not the best premise to go off of. We have spent much of our time breaking up fights, having dogs go from being very happy to be there to being scared or becoming even aggressive towards other dogs. So I personally made changes in my own facility over a year ago on how we were dealing with dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently started noticing that more facilities, more of the trainers to the trainers are recommending changes be made to their facilities, as to all facilities as well, basically. So we're finding that socialization as we understood it is not what we should have been doing. Now we're understanding that socialization for dogs is one, giving them space to get away from each other, letting them make choices, not forcing them to be in a play situation for these big long days or with a huge number of dogs. Given choices, if we watch dogs and we really do understand them, we see that they don't choose to be in massive groups. I always tell people, go take a trip to Mexico, Jamaica, whatever, or these third world countries where dogs are running.
Sure, they're just hanging out. I remember seeing that on, I forget what it was, but something where the dog was hanging out in the restaurant, was just like literally just on the ledge by himself.
Yeah, they don't really care to go around in groups of 30, 40. I mean, I've walked into some of these facilities and I get 30, 40 dogs all running at the gate, jumping, and then
Wow.
they're breaking out here and there. And no, we've never done that, by the way, but a lot of places do that. That's their whole premise, is let's load them into a large room, and then, whatever bygones are, be bygones. And so they then carry squirt bottles and lunge whips and things like that.
Wait. What's a lunge whip?
It's a whip that they use for horses to lead them around in circles. And we use it as trainers to teach dogs impulse control. So we attach a toy to the end of it, and we'll put it to a toy on the ground. If the dog goes for it, we'll pick it up out of their way, and then eventually we use it as a reward. So once they wait and they don't go after it, we'll let them play with it.
Right, sure.
It's an impulse control toy for us, but for some of these places, they use it as a punishment item to stop the dogs from fighting, or not even fighting, just growling at each other or something, having communication. So we have.
They literally whip the dogs?
Well, they just, give them a quick pop.
Okay.
Not okay. I'm not saying.
No, I'm not saying okay. I'm just saying okay, now I understand, but yeah.
When you give somebody a tool like that and you give them permission to do a pop, that definitely could do more damage than just a pop, which is why I don't recommend aversive training in the first place. I just don't think that ever giving somebody permission to hit a dog is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in these places, they're just trying to avoid fights. And that should not be that. First of all, it's stressful on the daycare staff. Can you imagine working in one of these places and all you do all day is break up
fights?
Yeah, I mean, it's stressful.
Wow.
Occasionally we get a fight at my place, and my staff literally is shaking and on pins and needles for a week, 2 weeks after that, because it was so stressful. We avoid it at all costs. It's just not something that we want to happen, because it's not only bad for the dogs, it's bad for the team.
Yeah.
We come to work to have fun. The dogs come to us to have fun.
Well,
and
you call your business a dog hotel as opposed to what I was saying.
Dog hotel, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually more than that. It's a training center. You know,
Uh-huh.
I want dogs to come there and learn, and they learn all day long. And that's the thing that has changed about daycare is as we understand socialization among dogs better, that they're not good in large groups. They don't even want to be in large groups. They enjoy being with maybe one or two other dogs for short periods of time, and then they want to go their own way. You know, if you know, again, go down to these places and watch.
Mm.
You'll see two dogs playing off somewhere, and then they go their separate ways. If somebody feels threatened, they go away. They have that room to do it. That's why there's not a bunch of fights down there in, you know, in the streets of Jamaica between dogs. There just aren't. But we're forcing these dogs together in very unnatural situations, and we now know that it doesn't work. It's dangerous, and we're creating a lot of behavioral problems. It's keeping me employed, but it's
Mm.
not good for the general population.
And
So now when when trainers look at these
okay.
facilities, they need to ask the questions about how large are the groups, how long are the dogs outside,
Mm-hmm.
what is the staff looking for? Are they interacting with the dogs, or is it just the dogs playing with the dogs? Are they using any squirt bottles or lunge whips, or are they teaching the dogs while they're outside? For instance, if a dog is a humper, you know, put a leash on that dog, and when he goes and mounts another dog,
Mm-hmm.
pull him away for a few minutes, let him
Mm-hmm.
watch, let him go back, see what he does. If he does it again, pull him away, let him watch. It may take 20 or 30 repetitions of that, but eventually that dog will learn that every time he mounts another dog, he gets pulled out of the play session,
Mm.
and he's got to watch. And so he goes back and he tries something different, and then he gets rewarded by continuing to get to play.
Mm-hmm.
So are they doing those things? Are they really helping the dogs learn? If they're a barker, are they working with that dog on learning how to be quiet and comfortable, or are they squirting him in the face with water? You
Mm.
know, those are big differences. So, like I said, we're learning now that enrichment is a better socialization uh, pattern than just shoving dogs together and
Sure.
saying, figure it out, you know, and there's a lot of stress involved in that. So we're trying to, our biggest goal right now in these facilities is to reduce FAS, which is fear, anxiety, and stress,
Mm-hmm.
and increase comfort, peace, calm. Because I don't know what you're seeing up there with the trainers up in your neck of the woods, but
Mm.
reactivity is an epidemic right now, and
Mm.
it's not being helped at all by these daycares that have these monster groups that just stay out all day long with either limited to no rest periods throughout
But
the
yet they keep growing.
mm-hmm.
There's more and more of those opening every day. I remember when I lived in New Jersey, there were like 3 or 4 that opened within like a year, and it's crazy, you know. And you would see, you know, the way that they would do things, and you'd be like, why would I bring my dog there? I remember when there was a big one that opened in New York City that just was like, you know, people would talk about it, and I'd be like, but all you're doing is bringing the dog there, and the dog's not getting anything out of it. And I guess that's what you're talking about, is that the dog's not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they, you know, and some of the dogs, like I said, some of the dogs, it's okay. They're just even tempered. They have no problem. That,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they don't have a personality that gets affected by stuff like that. But that's not what we're seeing the trend. We're seeing the trend now become there's fewer of those dogs. We're actually not helping dogs learn how to be with other dogs, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the problem. Dogs should understand other dog behavior, and they don't. We're seeing dogs come in on a daily basis that have no clue how to read dog signaling. And so
Wow.
it's really sad. I mean, that's the whole epidemic about reactivity is we're not helping these dogs learn how to be appropriate with other dogs. We're just throwing them into groups, and then we are managing, and it strictly is management with aversive techniques
Mm.
of squirt bottles, lunge whips, shock collars, things like that that are just completely inappropriate for addressing good socialization between dogs. So these places need to change to become it's an effort between the staff and the dogs to maintain that, or even teach that appropriate social interaction. And if a dog is having a hard time with it, then you need to find a group that is appropriate for them, or no group. It might be that that dog just needs to come and engage with humans
Mm.
so that they learn to have more impulse control and stress management. So every dog is different. We have to stop looking at these dogs and saying they're a dog and they should all be treated the same. They just
Mm.
can't be. It's every one of them is an individual, and they all have different likes and dislikes and personalities and temperaments. And as such, we have to be able to address that. And so unfortunately for people, that makes the cost go up. But
Mm-hmm.
to me, I'd rather spend $45 a day on having my dog in a place where I know they're going to be safe and learning, not just thrown in with a bunch of other dogs. And oh, geez, I might get a dog with half an ear missing when I get them back.
Mm.
Big vet bill.
Wow.
And then they're scared of every other dog around because they've not learned how to read or trust or
Yeah.
all that stuff with other dogs. So we need to turn this around. It was a good idea when it started.
Mm-hmm.
It just went down a hill that is really has some bad side effects, and we're seeing that now, and we need to adjust. We need to change. And
So Joyce, I'm going to ask you as your final question. What should a trainer look for in a boarding facility or a dog hotel or whatever you want to call it? What should they look for?
Enrichment.
That they want enrichment.
Mm-hmm.
Enrichment. So as opposed to being able to let the dog learn and let the dog be a dog, basically, is what you're saying, and learn and training and etc. So enrichment. And
It's a big word, and it has so much in it for the dog.
mm-hmm.
And but it takes extra from the facility, and it takes extra knowledge, it takes extra patience, it takes
Mm-hmm.
extra training to the staff, and you got to keep those numbers down. So it's hard because you can't have 70, 80 dogs because you cannot enrich 70, 80 dogs without a really large staff. And so you've got to maintain your numbers at a reasonable amount. It can't be about let's just bring them in and shove in as many as we can anymore. It really does. So you got to, there's going to be some price increases for some places.
Mm-hmm.
And are you comfortable with that? Can you market it? Can you handle it? And in my mind, if we don't do it, if we don't focus on it and start teaching the clients why this is important, then no, we won't be able to do it. But if trainers start talking to these customers about how important it is to pick a facility that does provide this type of a service, then yeah, it can happen, and then that change can be made, and it's going to be for the better of the dog society as a whole. And my hope is that instead of the reactivity continuing to become this horrible epidemic that we're just losing, that we can turn it around and become a society with dogs that have a higher level of tolerance. It sounds like we're talking about humans, but our dogs need it too. I mean, there's no reason why we have dogs walking down the street 50 feet apart and they all want to kill each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
In New York, it's even harder because the dogs are closer proximity.
Sure.
Out here in the suburbs, we've got a street in between.
Yeah.
But
wow.
It's horrible. And it's, I think a lot of it is one, our socialization concept. Dog parks, hate them. I think it was an awful idea. It still is an awful idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then, built off of that, we decided we could make money off it by opening up these daycare places, and we didn't do any better, really.
Wow.
And now we've set expectations for humans on what we can do with their dogs, and we've got to change that as a business. And trainers need to help with that process by knowing what they're advising their clients to go to. They're not all equal, and a fancy entrance doesn't mean it's any better than one that's run out of a basement that
sure
that somebody has more knowledge and skill. So I don't that's I just feel it's very important we start heading back in the other direction instead of continuing down this road. We're basically losing our dogs.
Wow. Joyce, this has been a terrific discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. It was incredibly interesting. So I thank you for being here, and folks, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care now. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.